The procedure shown in this presentation was current at the time of filming. Always follow the current procedures to ensure legality. The 737 Classic's outboard flaps ride on 2 carriages for the left wing and 2 carriages for the right wing. The forward part of the carriage rides on the wing's flap track, and the aft portion attaches to the mid-flap. The purpose of this gap check is to detect a fractured spindle, which would allow the flap to separate from the carriage. Here's an example of a broken spindle. This graphic shows how the spindle portion of the carriage attaches to the mid-flap. To perform the gap check, pressurize hydraulic system A, lower the flaps to 40 degrees, depressurize the hydraulic system, push up on the flap while watching for relative motion between the mid-flap and the carriage. The gap check paperwork recommends this general location for pushing upward on the mid-flap when checking the inboard carriage. When checking the outboard carriage, push in this vicinity while observing the carriage to mid-flap gap. Here's the test on a good spindle. Note that there is no relative motion between the carriage and the mid-flap because the gap between them is constant. Here's the same test viewed from above. Notice the constant gap. The paperwork gives you the option of using modeling clay to check the gap, but it's not required. Stick the clay to the mid-flap and the carriage in the area of the fairing link. When the check is performed on a good carriage, the clay will stay stuck to both sides, like you see here. Let's do the check on an aircraft with a broken spindle. When you push, you should notice a lot of flap movement. Here's a look at the relative motion between the flap and the carriage. The view from above is even more dramatic.